Hi, I'm Celeste, and this is 10 Minutes of History from the Balboa Island Museum. So today I'm going to talk about a topic I really love. I have this speech that I've given in the community several different times, and it's called Stuff You Didn't Know, Things They Forgot to Tell You in School, basically. And it pretty much stemmed from this article I found in 2014 in the Orange County Register called Defining Time. And so this is pretty much all about time and where we got the names for the different words that we use to measure time. And so I found this very fascinating. So I took this article, this one's on days of the week, months of the year, and then I got out my handy dictionary of word origins, which I use all the time, and went further and found the words, the meanings of the words that added onto this that I didn't know. And I just found this very interesting, and I hope that you do too. So we're going to start with seconds, minutes, and hours. I can't start with second, I have to start with minute because second comes out of minute. So a minute basically just means a minutia. It's a small thing. Today it just means a small measure of anything. But it originally meant 1/60th of a whole. So if we had a whole here, 1/60th of that would be a minute. And so a minutia is minute. When you had, that was the first minutia. Then you had a second minutia. And a second minutia is 1/60th of 1/60th. And that's where we get the word second, because that's the second minutia of the whole. You ever tell somebody, hey, I'll be there in a second? You could go to a third. A third minutia would be 1/60th of 1/60th of 1/60th. And we would have the saying, hey, I'll be there in a third. But we don't have that, so we stopped it. In our modern times, we stopped at second. So that's how we get second minutia, and minute, which is the first minutia. And then we have hour. Hour comes from the Greek word hora, which we get translates into the Romance languages of Spanish and French too. Hora just basically means go. It means to go forward. And we're going to see it again in another word that we have. So originally, this go just meant progression of time, go forward. It meant a season. It was a fairly generalized word. Later, much later, it becomes known as 1/12 an hour means, 1/12 of a day. Sorry. So that's how we get these three words: second, minute, and hour. Then we go on to the word day, the word week, the word month, and the word year. So day is just basically goes all the way back to a root word that means burn, means heat. It means time of the day when the sun is hot. And that's just a simple one. That's day. Week, I love it. It's from the root is W-I-K, week. But it means W-E-A-K, week. Something that's weak, something you can bend, something that changes. And how does a week change? Every week we get a different phase of the moon. So when we start with the full, we go to the first quarter, we go to new, we go to the second quarter. So we have these different phases of the moon. So way back in the Wayback Machine of Time, people have noticed that things changed every week. So week means change. Just for fun, we'll talk about fortnight. Fortnight, everybody pretty much knows, means 14 nights. So that's how we got the word fortnight. But something you may not have known, but unless you're older, is you may have remembered your grandparents using the word se'nnight. And I have had people in my speeches say, oh yeah, I do. I remember my grandparents saying that. And that was 7 nights. So fortnight we kept, I think mainly because of Shakespeare, because he uses that quite a bit. Se'nnight is a word that's disappeared in our generation at least. So month, another really interesting word. Month comes from the root M-E and men's, and you get all kinds of words out of it, like measure and immense, which means unmeasurable. Meat comes from the word measure. It just means a portion of food. Meal, another portion of food. So what measures time? The moon. And so the root of the word month is basically means moon, because that's how you measured time when you saw those 4 phases. When those 4 phases were done, then you had a whole month. Year, again, we go back to the word hour. Year comes from the root of the word jor, which means go, and it's same. It was just a basic term that meant to go forward in time, and that's where we got the word year. Let's see, we're going to do, in our next 10 minutes, we're going to do the days of the week and the months of the year. So I'm going to go off on a little offshoot here, and we're going to talk about the seasons. Originally, spring was just Lent, and later it becomes known as spring because it was it replaced Lent, and it just meant rapid movement, which it still means today, or growth. And of course, that's the time of year where plants grow, and so it was translated then to spring of the year. So spring was spring of the year, and later we of course shortened it to spring. Summer is super easy. Semi is summer, and it just means half. So you're halfway through the year, there's summer. Autumn, which is what it's called in most of the world. We call it fall here now, but autumn was just harvest. It just directly relates to harvest. And then fall comes obviously from fall of the leaves. And winter just means wet or white. And so you can take that word directly back to one of those two. Actually, people don't really know which one it is. It's either winter or white. And then we get to meals of the day. Love meals of the day. So we have the word dinner. And I think this is going to throw you because that's the reaction I usually get from people. Dinner, and here's my disclaimer. This is how much French I know. 1 week of French in the Speak French in 1 Week CD, which actually works pretty well. But I took 8 years of Spanish and still can't really speak Spanish, but at least I do know enough to get back to the root words. So dinner in Latin, déjeuner, and in French, déjeuner, means D, the D part is un, and the jeûner means fasting. So dinner goes back to the word breakfast, because that was when you broke your fast. It even goes to the Bible, when the Lord broke his fast. And that was when he had his main meal of the day. So the main meal of the day then gets transferred into dinner. And so that was pretty much when you ate one meal of the day, or you ate a main meal and then maybe had a snack after that. When we come more into modern times and we start eating earlier in the day, especially when you're out farming, you need to eat a lot before you can go out to do that. So that became the word. We just moved dinner earlier up in the day and we call it breakfast. But dinner still, to us, really means the main meal of the day, or supper too. So that covers dinner and breakfast. Lunch is a great word. Lunch just means slice. It comes from the word lonja in Spanish. And so especially if you were farming or you're traveling or you're working, you would grab a slice of something before you walked out the door. So maybe you grabbed a slice of bread, a slice of meat, a slice of cheese, wrapped it up in a cloth and took that with you. And so that's just a direct word related to the word slice. Goes straight to lunch. So those are pretty fun. All right, I think I have like 2 minutes left. So I don't want to get quite into days of the week yet. So I'm going to show you two things that came straight out of my other speech, which is stuff you didn't know, and this is not anything to do with time, but it is kind of fun. So this is the first one. And this one I learned from my contractor, Bob Miranda. Hi, Bob. If you know what this is a 9-volt battery. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to tell you how you answered it. So the question is, have you ever licked a 9-volt battery? And the answer, I believe, from all of the people I've asked this question to is, if you are a man, your answer is, oh yeah. And if you are a woman, your answer is, why? Why would I want to lick a 9-volt battery? And I can tell you, if you go to a dinner party and there are 10 women and 10 men, 90% are going to answer that way. So the why is because you get a little shock out of this. But the funny thing is, when my contractor Bob told me this during the day, I waited, my husband came home, And I said, have you ever licked a 9-volt? And he said, oh yeah. So it wasn't, yes, I've done that. No, it's, oh yeah. The answer is always, oh yeah. So when I'm in any large groups of mixed company, I always ask this question. And that is always the answer from the men, and the women look at them like they're absolutely crazy because they mostly have never heard of this. So we're taking this out into the world. So I hope that you will go out forward and start asking this question. We don't use a lot of 9-volts today, but you might want to find one just so that you can do this. And if you're a woman, I don't suggest you lick this thing. The other one, I have to take my shoe off for this. Something I never knew until recently. We were driving with our friends from David and Carla Day, and David Day was in the car with my husband and Carla and I. We were driving from Taos to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I will never forget this because it changed my life. My whole life I have double tied my shoes. When I was playing softball, when I played a lot of tennis, when I golf, I always double tie my shoes. And so David looked at me and just out of the blue said, do you know how to untie double tied shoes? And I'm like, well, yeah, I hate it, especially when they're wet. It takes forever. He goes, no, you just pull one of the strings. And if you double tie your shoe, like my shoe is double tied right here, and you pull, one of them's not going to do it. You have to find the one that's going to do it. But if you just yank it, it's going to untie just like that. And I've talked to many, many people that do not know this. I did not know it, and I thought of all those years when I had, little kids at my house and double tying those shoes and how we worked to get those little tiny laces undone. If I had known this, it would have saved me so much time. So are we at 10 minutes yet, Britt? We're there. Okay, good. That was a nice little fill in there. So we're going to come back, and our next 10 minutes is going to tell you about the days of the week and the months of the year and how they got their names. So thanks for listening.